Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a quick minute to let you know that we've launched our Patreon site and that you can now become a supporter of the show. The awards in there include artist features on our website and shout outs on the show, as well as open invitations to join fellow patrons in our roundtable discussion episodes. So if you think you might be interested, please take a look at the link in the description or just go to patreon.com/@percussion, so /at percussion. Okay, thanks for listening.
Awesome. So if everyone's ready, we can begin, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, everyone. You are listening to episode 259 of At Percussion podcast, which we will be releasing on December 3rd. My name is Ksenia Komljenović, and with me, as always, are Karli, Viña.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Karli. And Casey Cangelosi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, going well. We're missing Ben here. He couldn't join us, but he
Woo-hoo!
sends all his love. Yay, Ben! Good job for having a life. But we're going to go back to just the folks in this amazing virtual room, and we're going to ask Casey what happened in history on our release date.
Yeah, I found one. So you know how, Ksenia, you like to criticize the sources I gave y'all to find these news items?
You mean criticize everything you say?
Including these, these links I've generously contributed so that we can have some news. I'm going to criticize them a little bit today too, because it's really hard to find classical news, and it's, as in classical composers, compositions, that sort of thing. But it's very easy to find like birth dates, death dates, dates of premieres, but like, come on, who cares? Generally speaking. So we try to if we can tie that into something interesting, great. And this is a little interesting. I kind of had to do a double look at this little thing. So I'm just going to read it right as it comes from one of our sources, and that is 1883 birth of Austrian composer Anton Webern in Vienna, right? Okay. And a little fun information about him. The thing most people know, he was accidentally shot while smoking a cigar outside his daughter's home on the 15th of September, 1945, by an Allied soldier. And then this is the part I had to do a double look at, and that is poetic justice, since it has been learned that he helped to create music based on the secret code for the Nazis. Have you guys ever heard that about Webern? That his 12-tone music was actually like secret codes for the Nazis?
No, I didn't.
No.
Yeah, well, good. You're right. It's not true. So that's
Okay.
but yet it's reported and listed just as fact here. So I kind of looked at like, wait, I've never heard that. That's like way interesting. And that kind of makes sense with 12-tone music. Like if you wanted to do that, I guess you could. That's kind of cool. So I dug into it a little bit. And apparently this is a well-reported fact that got spread around, according to what I saw in 1998. It like went all over, and it turns out it all comes from this one little critical write-up of Webern's music. I mean, as you all know, all the 12-tone Second Viennese school folks, I mean, their music was, either really, really admired by very few and generally despised by everyone in the public. So one critical writing, total satire, said, actually, what this is, this is 12-tone secret Nazi code. That's how this makes sense. That's why it sounds so crazy. But I just thought it was really interesting to find that today in a world when so much misinformation is spread around, and it's so hard to just know, our presidential debate just happened a few nights ago, and it's just so frustrating because it's like, well, this person says that's true, this other person says this other thing is true, and if you don't know which one is true, well then you don't really have any basis for comparison and to consider any good argument, which is where a lot of people are frustrated. So I just thought it was interesting, wow, this little misconception and what would be a really fun fact is reported, and it's totally not true. So if you dig into it a little bit, you'll find musicologists totally agree. No, Webern absolutely was not that. He endorsed the Nazi party like a lot of people did, because they had to do that because their national pride was one thing. It's just like nowadays, like, man, I don't like Donald Trump, but I support the United States of America. Like, I'm an American. It's a different thing. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. And one other source where it's kind of spread falsely. Let's see, this is from one of the articles I found. Webern's patriotism led him to endorse the Nazi regime. For example, in a series of letters to someone named Joseph Huber, who was serving in the army and himself held such views, meaning he supported Hitler and the Nazi Party, openly supported the Nazi Party. Webern describes to this person, this open supporter, he describes Hitler on May 2nd, 1940 as, quote, this unique man who created the new state of Germany. Thus, Alex Ross, the writer whose book's very, very famous, characterizes Webern as unashamed Hitler enthusiast. Like, what? Because of those two quotes? Like, because of you calling him unique and the new state that's created? No, he's talking to a Hitler supporter. You're gonna sugarcoat how you talk to a friend that way a little bit. So it's just amazing. Like, a few little misattributed quotes turns Webern into like all this misinformation. So I thought that was relevant for today. I'm sure some other stuff happened on release date, but I don't know what it is.
This is a great musical news.
Thank you.
Good job, Casey. Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome. So now we get to the incredible part, and I'm really excited about this, obviously. And I feel like I say this too many times, but we've been so fortunate, at least during my time on the podcast.
I booked him.
You did. Good job, Cangelosi. Good job.
I'm just making it clear.
Our guest for this episode is a true powerhouse. Born in Torino, Italy in 1993, he studied at Conservatorio Giuseppe Verdi before moving to Munich to study with Peter Sadlo, which is amazing. We're going to be talking about that. He won the ARD competition in 2014, which is incredible because so young, and killed that competition, and received the Credit Suisse Young Artist Award at the Lucerne Festival in 2016. In 2018, he premiered Avner Dorman's Eternal Rhythm, which I also am psyched to talk about. He plays in several chamber music ensembles with really big names like Lucas and Arthur Hewson, the fabulous pianist brothers, and Alexa Gerasimes, again, a percussionist friend here, a star. His debut album, Immortal Bach, is a true piece of art that juxtaposes Bach with contemporary masterpieces, and it's fabulous. You should go listen to it if you haven't yet. And really exciting, it's since 2019, he holds a teaching position at the it's literally translated as High School of Music, but it's not a high school, obviously. It is a conservatory, it is a university in Lausanne, and is a visiting professor at the Berlin Akademie der Kunst, their arts academy. So by now you figured it out that our guest is the fabulous Simone Rubino. Simone, welcome to the podcast.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, it's so great to have you, and I hope people have been...
It's great to be here.
Yeah. I hope people were able to actually understand what the hell I was saying, because I feel like my voice was like peaking with excitement the entire time.
No, it was very clear.
Tell us, how have you been? Where are you now? What's up? We always start with a little bit of what's up with Corona in your life. But where are you? How's music right now?
Actually, right now I'm living in Germany, in Rostock, close to Berlin, and right now I'm in quarantine because it just came. I was playing in a different red zones, so risk zones, and that's why today's my third day of quarantine. Enjoying actually a lot the time to read and to cook. I right now had a beautiful lunch. So yeah, I'm very. I can say I'm very fortunate, and I'm fine, and yeah, I think that's the most important thing. So how about you actually? How is the situation there right now?
It's great.
He loves to answer this question.
I mean, don't you follow the news?
Well, and actually, we don't know. We're recording on October, 25th,
Okay.
And yeah, so we're gonna have big election news by the time this is released, and we don't know
Right.
what that is yet. So
Yeah,
I-
right.
we're far too ahead in our booking. We try not to be this far ahead because the world can be so different in 1 month from now. So I try to
Sure.
remind everyone, hey, whatever major crazy thing just happened the other day, we don't know about it yet. So
Sure. Well, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's okay. I feel like all of our teaching, I mean, we all teach in some university capacity.
Yeah.
It seems like we all follow roughly the same guidelines and
Way.
ideas.
Yeah.
A mix of teaching online, a mix of teaching offline,
Sure.
and we all seem to be doing various Zoom type clinics and things, and
Yeah.
activity like the conversation and episode we're having today has increased a lot. And in fact, you just had a performance, right?
Yeah, I had a concert 4 days ago in Munich. Was a great experience, to play in front of public and to share music with people.
What did you perform?
This was the German premiere of a new opera written for me, actually, by an amazing Italian composer from a younger generation. It's called Lamberto Curtoni. He was a student of Giovanni Sollima, the great cellist and composer. And we just did the second premiere, so German premiere. It's very interesting because I'm now trying to, find my way of making art with percussion. And I discovered that human voice, it's a very important instrument of mine right now. And that's why I'm also taking classes of singing. So I studied sing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you have a beautiful voice. I heard on a few occasions you singing, and then I was like, how's it possible? Why is he so talented twice? But please do share. That's amazing.
Yeah, I actually started when I was young to sing before I played. I had a luck to be part of the children's choir in opera. And I think it was an amazing experience for me, but also for my colleagues, because as a child, being in a stage and sharing art and having experience with different people coming from the art world, so regie, dramaturg, as well, different conductors. It was an amazing world, really. And in a way, I think this helped me to discover and after to be better in a way of my body language. So I had more consciousness of my body language, which is actually, I think, very important for us percussionists. And then, of course, I start playing percussion. And right now I'm coming a little bit back. And that's why I first start to sing again when I met actually Avner. Was I think 2016 or 15. This was in Lexington. I was playing after a competition, the Frozen in Time in the US. And I had a masterclass also there at the music university. And then I was just explaining percussionists, the colleagues, how we should make a line. And that's why I just sang the line. And since this experience, actually Avner was very inspired, and he told me, why do you have such a nice voice? And then I explained him the reason why, and then he said, okay, well, for the next concerto, I think we should use the voice, and that's the reason also why Avner actually composed the fourth movement of Eternal Rhythm for tenor, vibraphone, and strings.
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing.
So is it hard? I'm sure it happens at every gig. Like you're trying to premiere a new piece, but the audience starts chanting "bad touch, bad touch."
Of course.
That's like, is that what always?
Yes, but really, Kazi, this is very impressive because every time I play Bad Touch in the concert, I think it's the most inspiring piece.
Ksenija, did you hear that?
Sorry, it cut out. It's cut out. I couldn't. What? I think I have a BS detector. No, just kidding. No, of course. I'm sorry. I don't say this enough, but Cangelosi, you are a brilliant composer. And you do have excellent works, and I'm really sorry. I think the listeners by now think that I'm actually at war, but I am a huge fan.
I don't accept.
You don't accept
this
this
offering.
It's fine. It's because I'm European and I'm better dressed always.
I'm the worst dressed person here for sure.
You are
There's
always.
No.
Well, seriously though, you mentioned your like literal voice. One of the things that it seems like is such a mysterious piece to being a soloist for a lot of people is having your like performance voice.
Mhm.
And it took me a minute to realize, oh wait, you're talking about your literal singing voice. Can you describe your like persona voice, your performance voice, and how it is different or how you've crafted it over the years? And
Yeah.
that's a really hard question, I know.
Sure. Well, no, Casey. I think it's very logical. Look, first during the last days after competition, after I was also, having a lot of lessons with Peter Sadlo, I always was searching for a way, to be horizontal in the music, because of course, as a percussion player, we have a absolutely vertical movement, which is also connected in, which means in the music we do play almost of the time vertical music, which is great, but I think we still are not done. We still need, I think, to discover more about the horizontal way of making music, which every instrument should have. After, of course, I understood this is very connected with the movement and so on. And this was, I think, the first time where I thought, okay, I also need my voice to show this part of music, because at the end we play for the music. And this was for me very, very frustrating at the beginning, because I couldn't find any way of playing horizontal, because as again, the movement, it's vertical. So and then I realized actually what the voice can give to music, it's unique, and that's why I found this combination between the verticality of the percussion and the horizontality of the voice, a great combination. Which doesn't mean that we shouldn't find a way of playing percussion in an horizontal way. I think there are now great players which are working on it, and that's great. And I think we should go on in this process, which is, I think, it's a very long process. But in this specific case, I found it could be also very interesting for music and for the art to combine these two dimensions.
Speaking of how long a process it is, because a lot of times my advice is just like to the student is, hey, you're doing everything right. You just got to keep going. It just takes a long
Sure.
time. How long? I know it's very hard to answer this, but how long could you like roughly estimate it took you until you thought, oh, okay, here's where my performance aura, my performance voice is. I found it.
Yeah, well, until now I can say 15 years at least, but I think this is going to be long all my life actually.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
So
Yeah,
it's everything going, and because different peoples, you're gonna play probably tomorrow or in 2 years or in 20 years, you will know different personalities and you will have different experience, and everything what we live, we will bring this in our world, I think, and that's why I think it's a long life process.
Cool. Yeah.
Casey, you wanted to talk about being a soloist, rightfully, and we have an excellent expert here on how to develop solo career. There's a nice little article, sort of, that you
Sort
wanted
of,
to.
yeah. Well, and just to be clear, I don't want to talk about anything. I just want to relax. But I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do.
Excuse your existential crisis. Okay.
Well, I thought this might I thought this might fuel a little discussion since we have Simone here, and he is such a renowned and busy soloist. He fits this description so well. But Berklee College of Music there in Boston has sort of like a career path description, and they have a little soloist category. Like, what does it mean to be a soloist? So I don't have a huge ton to report here, but I thought I would just read some quick descriptions of what they say there, and maybe we can see how that fits into what Simone has done and what we see. So this is called Soloist at a Glance. Career path is the first item. Most soloists pursue their careers aggressively from a young age, bursting onto the world stage when they win high-level music competition and begin to tour. So that's the first one. The second one is finding work, and there is a little more. I'm just abbreviating these for time's sake. The second one is finding work, and this says winning a prestigious competition is widely regarded as the best way to kickstart one's career as a soloist. Hey, Robin. And we've got a Robin appearance, so he's with me. Here, let's take a look. Oh, hi. What are you
Hi,
doing
Robin.
now? Hey.
Hello.
Aw.
He's in one of these moments. Hey, sweetie, you want to read with me? Oh, here, say hi to everybody. You want to say hi to these folks?
Hi, Robin.
Oh, Robin, look. Oh, look. This is Simone and Karli and Ksenija Shostakovich.
It's not my last name.
But it's easier. It's easier.
Wait.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna finish. It's never. He comes in and it's never like a problem. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's never like an actual like disturbance. Let's see. So finding work, winning a prestigious competition, and then finding from there, it's a matter of getting an agent, booking a tour, and setting out to test oneself on stages across the world. And then professional skills you'll need, high-level technical skills on a major solo instrument, typically violin, cello, piano, or voice. Obviously, that's wrong. Yeah, that's nobody wants to hear any of those. You'll have to have live performance chops. You'll have to know a wide classical repertoire. You'll need to know musical notation. I don't know why they say that. I guess they're just saying like, hey, you'll need to like be able to learn music, read music. I don't know. Collaboration, self-promotion, and networking. Next one is interpersonal skills. They say that classical conductor Kenneth Wood puts it very well. If you play well, connect with audiences, and are easy to work with, nothing else really matters. It's not easy to create a smooth, coordinated performance from only one or two rehearsals. And for this, soloists must be humble, communicative, and collaborative. And work life travel is nearly endless. By plane, by train, and occasionally by car. As soloists become more popular, the area in which they perform expands. Beginning soloists might stick to a small region, but the most successful perform in world tours and hop back and forth between continents. I thought this was cool because, you know, we've all probably had friends and students who just say like, how do I do it? You know, like, how do I do it? And I mean, my first go-to is like, well, let's start shooting for competitions. That's what I prepare students to do. And of course, I'm kind of a new teacher, but that's what I'm going to continue to do. And yeah, like perform well, win competitions, but then like, oh man, how do you do it? So I don't know. Does that bring any of that ringing true or relating to Simone?
Well, yeah, because there is some truth there, but I don't think this is the only way. And I think as well, winning a big competition, I think doesn't mean straight after to be a soloist. What I can tell, a little story of mine, it's how in my case was, and this is what I also tell my students. I think we shouldn't make a competition just because we want to be the best. I think competition should be a chance first to know our limits, because working 1 year hard, we get in touch with our limits, body limits, psychologically and emotionally and spiritually, and I think that's very important. But as well, we should use competition, as a way to work out our character traits, like moral and performance. So this, I think, if I look back now, this was also, the reason why I said, okay, I will work 1 year for the RD competition. But also before this, actually, what's most important is to find a professor, a person which can really understand you as a person, as musicians, and can really make from yourself your best. And in this case, without Peter, I think this wouldn't be possible. I'm sure. So that's why I think the most important thing in my life was first to know Peter Sadlo, studied with him in Munich, because with him we could make decisions together. He had enough experience to coach me, and straight after, after winning the competition was okay. I won today, but I'm not done. Actually, I'm only starting a new way, a new process. And every time I end a step, straight after I said, okay, this is the beginning of something new. And if I can come back, I would say, okay, guys, let's do competition, not as a competitor, but as a chance to grow musically, technically, but especially a way to practice our character traits, morally, especially, and on the performance.
Yeah.
That's so beautifully
Yeah.
said. And that is such a wide, gorgeous perspective that shows how you know that a musician is a person on this planet and that it's so much more than pitch accuracy or rhythm. It's all connected. But I wanted to go back to learning a little bit more about Sadlo. Some of us have not had the pleasure of meeting him, but I'd love to know, what was it that sparked your curiosity in for him? Do you know what sparked his curiosity for you? How was your first meeting? What were your lessons like? We would love to know a little bit of that.
It was actually very funny because Peter came, I think, in 2008 to Turin because he was jury member of a big audition in Turin for as a solo percussionist. I knew the timpani player of the radio orchestra Turin, and he told me, "Yeah, look, he's in few months is coming. You know, this very famous percussionist. I think you should play something for him." And that's what I did. And straight after, I remember I was playing, I think, a Rosauro concerto or something. I was very young, I was 13 or 14. And then I remember after 3 or 4 minutes, Peter came to the artistic director and told him, I think we should organize a concert next year together with Simone. So this was our first approach.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
And this happened. So and the next year we had a concert as a duo partner. And then Peter always invited me to study with him, but I was still very young. I was 15. So I said, okay, thank you very much, Peter. But before I want to make my bachelor, so I was also, in my high school. So I said, I should finish this first, and then I will come to Munich. And that's what I did. It was very easy. And after, was something, I think we had a common energy, something very animal. I cannot describe the reason and what exactly, but something that bring us together, So I probably was, I think was something more in the energy, something energetic. And that's why we also grow up together very, very fast. So I remember also he was at the beginning very, very hard to me because, I was an 18 years old Italian boy coming from Italy to Germany. So it's a different culture, it's different tradition. And I was living with my parents, and my mother helped me every day to make everything. So, this was a very important lesson in my life, actually. And I always remember he said, okay, Simone, today you're in Germany and forget about the Pavarotti position you always do. So you are now in Germany and you should play for me. And, it was the truth. I really loved to be Pavarotti in the stage, and I was playing like this. And
and he a phase of that though, right? Like, it's good. Everyone should go through a little phase of that so they learn, how much they can get away with, and then
sure. And he did amazing. So I think he was a great pedagogue, but as well he was for me a mentor, more than a professor. So I'm very, very grateful about this.
Cool.
Simone, we were talking a little earlier about finding your own voice and developing your own voice. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit how you approach this with your own students, and what advice do you have for young percussionists who are kind of figuring out where are my strengths, what's my voice, and what do I have to say?
Well, I think there are, especially in our work as a percussion player, no limits. And I think this should be something very positive for everyone. So what I can suggest is just make whatever you feel to do, not as an end in itself, but just make art. And it doesn't matter how you do it. You can do it with a vibraphone, or you can do it with a maracas, or you can do it with breakdance and Baroque music. I don't know how. There are no limits, but I think the most important thing is just make art. That's the only thing I think I can suggest.
Do you ever find there are limits on repertoire? Like I know, I feel like percussionists are very lucky because we are already an interesting feature on the stage, so we can come in playing this really avant-garde, super 20th century music that we already kind of have people on our side when we do that, because we don't have classical repertoire, at least as soloists. But sort of like I mentioned with Webern, there's so much criticism, and there's so much talk with orchestras now of like, we really would love to play this new commission, but we don't know if the audience will respond well. And you were so nice to say bad touch always gets good response. I'm just going to put that in there again for Ksenija. And we're supposed to fight the ratings. We actually don't despise each other or anything. It's just but yeah, thanks for saying that. It was nice. But yeah, do you find there's certain repertoire that like that doesn't go over well, or like audiences really want you to do stuff like this?
Well, yeah, of course, I think we have still very, very less repertoire, which is in a way a limit, because it doesn't give us the possibility, to express ourselves, to communicate. But on the other hand, I think we should take this as a chance to discover a new way of playing, new composers. And my feeling is that people want to hear percussion more and more. They love every time they get out from a percussion concerto, they always, or concert, they always say, please make it more often, because this is something we need. This is in a way also the reason why I still keep taking risks, because this has also risk, to ask different composers and perform new music, because people want to hear percussion concerts. They really want.
That's cool. It's almost like, hey, if there's percussion on stage, it is going to be a new thing.
Sure.
They're expecting a new thing. Whereas if it's a symphony setting, they're expecting Beethoven or expecting Mozart. And then when they don't get Beethoven or Mozart, they're like, wait a minute, what am I listening to? But it's expected with percussion.
And of course, not every percussion concert is going to be the highlight. But I think we do need the chance as a percussion player also to get to know the histories, and we should also have the chance to perform new pieces, because this is a very important process. I think in 200 years percussion will be probably the most important solo instruments. I think 200 or 300 years, I don't know, but I think in the future this is going to change, I think, the history of the music.
You heard it first here.
Exactly, folks. Refer back to this prophecy from Simone.
It was also like 200-300 years, and maybe 500. But you're right, it's only growing. It's like we tried it out, and it's only gotten better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love your extremely positive outlook on life. I think it's amazing, and it's not the way I said it. It sounds like, oh, you're like, it's silly. No, not at all. It's very, very convincing. It's very convincing. But I was gonna ask. We actually got some social media questions, and several of them came in from our friends around the U.S.
Okay.
Said, how can I come study with you? Can I come study with you in English? What's the audition process?
Of course. Just come to Berlin or Lausanne, and we get to know, and it's very easy, actually.
That's amazing. So the programs are both available in English, yeah?
Sure, of course. Well, in Berlin, I'm still not sure, because, I'm also very new now in the school. That's why I still don't know the rules. But I think you have, of course, the chance to learn German. So I think you can, in one semester, you need to take a B2 or something. And at the end, I think doesn't matter the language you speak, That's why I think this is more for history of music or harmony. That's more important. But I think especially Berlin and Lausanne as well is getting more open to English.
The question came from one of our listeners, Cara Apostol, and actually another one, Antoni Oleszczyk, who both of them are very interested, but they need to know, should we plan for, should we start learning the language now if we're going to audition there, or is it okay if we show up and then mumble our way
what I
through?
suggest, I think if you have the chance to do it, of course, start now. To practice or to learn German, because I think indeed it's also a very important language, which gives you also a possibility, to understand more the culture. But I personally think this shouldn't be a limit. Also, not to speak German.
Of course. Well, wonderful there. You heard it here first, folks, again. Simone is a new professor, and yes, you can go and study, starting with English, but then you'll learn more. But before we have Karli dig out some other questions for you, can you tell us about your experience with teaching? Because you are new, and how's that been in these past couple of years?
Well, it at the beginning was strange because I still have students which are actually older than me. So this is a little bit strange because, also sometimes, But I realized this is actually also very interesting because they get very motivated. From someone which is younger, or it has a different aspect. But indeed, teaching for me personally, it's a way to first to learn, because I learn so much from my students, and it's a way to grow together. So I give you the experience I had on the stage the last 10 years. And of course, new students born with this, so they are already on the next level. So I think this is a chance to grow together and bring percussion in a new era. And that's why I love, teaching, because also there is a responsibility, I think, which is not only, to teach playing, but as well, I think, to teach moral values, which is, I think, very, very important.
I love how much you mentioned that. But sorry, before we dig more into that, could you please also explain to us? So we saw that in Lausanne, you teach alongside Vasilena, who we just had on the podcast, who's a lovely friend, and then Sejourné, who too was on the podcast some years ago. Can you tell us, how do you distribute that work between the three of you?
Yeah, well, basically, we divide the work. Emmanuel is doing mostly vibraphone and marimba technique with the students, and coaching the class. Then Vasi is making mostly marimba lessons, and I do more setup and ensemble coaching. But we are very flexible, and if students want to make a piece for marimba with me, we are very open and we do it. We try to be a team, so that's why we are very flexible together as a team, and we try to give our best to students.
That's awesome. So do they split lessons between?
Sure.
Yeah, so everyone gets lessons all the time.
So for example, in 1 month, I'm 1 week in Lausanne, then the second week and the third week is going to be Emmanuel there, and the fourth week is going to be Vasi, and then we split the lessons together. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. There, for those listeners again who were really interested about how it looks, now we've given them a little bit more of the infrastructure.
Sure.
Lovely. I'm so sorry I misspoke. I have in my head that Sejourné was on the podcast, but I mean, maybe now we can finally get it.
Yeah, of course.
And you will consider yourself invited.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Crazy. I know. No, it does. It feels like and we say it all the time, like we've had everyone on.
Feels that way.
And we have. I thought that with Simone, we are now completing the everyone.
Yeah, I thought you were the last one.
Oh, that's so bad. Sorry. Shame on me.
No, bro.
Karli, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So we had one question on Instagram from Thomas Perk. And Thomas asks, what's your approach to memorizing something such as Rebon B? Or even if you want to get more general, maybe your approach to memorizing different types of music, different types of repertoire.
Yeah.
Or bad touch. Like, how do you do that?
Or bad touch, yeah. Or meditation, number one.
Or that. How do you do that?
Well, I start to learn differently when I start to travel a lot, which means when I didn't have the chance to practice physically. So at one point I said, okay, how can I use the time when I'm traveling, when I'm in the airport, when I'm in the flight, or when I'm in the train? Actually, I start to read music like conductor does. And I understood actually how crazy our learning process is or was, because when we learn a new piece, what we normally do, what I did also 5 years ago was, opening the score, reading the score as good as we could, with the eyes and mechanically with the ends, trying to make all the right notes, and trying to make all the dynamics, and then try to not have tension in your body. And I think this is crazy, because we are trying to do everything in one time for the first time, which is I think it's very stressful, especially for our head, and that's why I said, but what if we divide the learning process in different steps? So like a bodybuilder, if he wants to take 150 kilo, or I don't know, he will start with 10 kilos, and tomorrow he will not try to take 140. But this is actually the way how we do it. So we start to learn music, and then because the music it's so nice, we try already to make a performance on these bars. We try to interpret already the music, which is, I think, very, very dangerous, because this is, I think, the reason why we learn making tensions in our body, why we learn wrong notes, why, everything what comes together. So this is the reason why I start to divide this learning process. And it's very simple. So I start to read a piece first without instrument, reading the score like a conductor would do, analyzing the piece, trying to understand if there are similarity, trying to understand dynamics, trying to understand where the climax are, really analyzing the whole piece and having a first visualizing the score, especially if we play a multi-set piece, because every time we have a new instrument, if we play Rebond B, we have a different instrument than if we play meditation number 1, or if we play Psafa. And that's why I think it's very important visualizing first our instrument, or our setup, and reading together, because after, when you will go back to the instrument, it's already something done, and then you can focus yourself on other aspects, on other elements. And this is something that I suggest, not only to learn music by heart, but actually it should be the normal approach. Divide these elements, start analyzing music, then go on with priorities: dynamic, notes, colors, emotions, everything what comes next.
So when you're studying the score, you're reading it, like you said, looking at it away from the instrument. Do you like to listen to recordings during this part of the process, or do you like to use your own ideas and your brain to come up with your interpretation at that time?
Sure, I like to use my own ideas. Yeah, I think this is the best way, because after I think we get influenced to another performance, which shouldn't be a thing. If we have, of course, some questions, sometimes, of course, I have a look at other performances, but this is something I do later.
Yeah.
If I do it, yeah.
I love when you find little tricks, to memorizing things. And I'm not a good memorizer, especially of multi-percussion. But my student, actually the winner of the intro music contest, recently, we were having a lesson on Rebonds B.
Okay.
And he he plays it great. He's already playing it great. But I pointed out, hey, notice the left hand, it's the same series of drums for like a long time.
Yeah.
He's just like, he felt so stupid. He's just like, holy crap, that's such an easy, like, but it's amazing. Like, I don't think he'd mind me saying that, because he's already playing it so well. But that's one of those things. Like, hey, yeah, if you ever didn't notice, like it's the same series of outline in the left hand. It's like, man, that's a huge part of
Sure.
helping it be memorized.
And this is also, I think very helpful, because one aspect is learning music and playing music, and one other aspect is having a performance. And if we divide in the learning process those different aspects, I think we will come in one point where we really can focus ourselves in our body language, because I think this is the vehicle for the communication.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I was going to ask, do you think it's important for a young performer, say if you have someone who's say a teenager still or a freshman, is it important that they first start learning music by that way, doing the visual and mechanical at the same time, so that they hit a wall and then they go and separate the mental practice from physical practice? Or do you think that this is something that we can start teaching even to very young people to attack a score
absolutely first? Absolutely. I think we can start to teach also to young people, because I think this gives you also the possibility to be faster. So I always had the experience to learn the pieces faster, and faster, it means not only faster but also better. So the quality of how you learn, it's a better quality, it's faster, and that's why not? Of course, I think we should at least try to give this possibility, so to learn to teach this to younger people, and then I'm sure they also will find other ways to learn, and but indeed I think this should be the basis where to start learning music, in my personal opinion, of course. So
no, but it's trialed, it's tested, and it's confirmed. I mean, it works.
Sure.
I wanted to go back to your topic of morality and spirituality in music. I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more of how you use music as a platform or a metaphor to grow in these other humanistic ways.
Yeah, well, I think I see music as an universal language, and we do have the fortune of communicate through music, through emotions, something which could be very, very deep. So music was for me a vehicle, of course, to grow and to train moral and performance character. And it starts in the school. So there, where I got to know, I knew friends which had kind of the same values and priorities of mine. And I think also this is very important, the kind of teamwork. I think it's very, very important where you are living with. So, and this is part also of your character growing, because we get every time in touch with our family, with our friends. That's why it means we are every day also influenced of them. So the music, this basically was and is still every day for me a language, how to communicate and being a better person. Well, because we also need to spend so much time on ourselves. We need to work so hard with ourselves. We need determination. We need passion. We need so many different values that I think music, but as well, sport, art, dance, could become really a vehicle to train our character and not become competitive vehicle.
I like that you said that, because something I used to, and I guess I still stress to students, is that, there's a lot of science behind what you're saying too. I mean, the fact that we all interpret a tritone a certain way, just 2 notes, versus a major 6, we interpret another way. Like they all have a little emotional response that's very scientific and very consistently happens with everyone. I know I'm chewing a Tic Tac. I'm sorry, because it'll be all right. She has to take over for Ben. Ben would just kill me for chewing gum or having a Tic Tac. But so imagine okay, so if you have an inherent emotional response just at the intervallic level in music, if you have a whole hour of a cocktail of emotional interaction. Yeah, like there is a lot of actually scientifically, emotionally what that can do to us. It's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Went on a TikTok. So
Can I?
classy. So
Sorry. Well, I didn't plan on. I
classy.
didn't plan on talking. I thought I've talked a lot. I wouldn't talk anymore. Can I ask my student's question? Ryan Carlisle's question.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's about mallets. I saw it here. Let's see. Where did it go?
Mallets.
There it is. Oh yeah. So our buddy Ryan Carlisle asked, "Can you talk about your mallets from AP? What's AP? Is that at percussion? That's at
Yeah, AP. Yeah, a percussion.
We're making mallets now. Ksenija, when did you do that?
Well, we start to work together, I think, about 3-4 years ago. And yeah, Alessandro, it's a great guy. He tried to make my sound philosophy happen. So yeah, I don't feel to say those are the best mallets because I think it's very personal. So the mallets are very personal. I think everyone should try different mallets, and then they should say, okay, this is near my sound or my way of playing, and these other not. So basically, of course, they are thought to play in bigger halls, so in concert halls, and also there are different models which are made to play with orchestra. So the approach, it's a little bit different than, I don't know, Steven's mallets. That's why I think it's very important that before buying mallets, we know what do we actually need in a musical way, what's our priority in a musical way, and then to choose which mallet do we need to buy or where.
That makes a lot of sense.
They look
of
beautiful.
Course.
I was just looking over the website. They look really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, if an Italian man says yes to a mallet, it's going to be beautiful. It cannot be aesthetically offensive. Don't worry about that. That you can be sure of. Simone, can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with Dorman on the recent concerto? How was that?
Yeah, this was very inspiring. I was in the 2014. I was still not sure if choosing Frozen in Time as a piece in the final or Fuochi d'Artificio it was another compulsory concerto. But at the end, I chose Frozen in Time because I thought, there are so many colors, and that's the reason why I played. Actually, this was my first approach with Dorman music, and after I got in contact with him after a competition, and I told him, would you be interested on writing a new concerto, which shouldn't be, I think, the same of Frozen. So we should analyze other musical way of playing. And he was very, very open-minded, and it was a great collaboration, which was, I think, more than 3 years. It took more than 3 years. And I'm very, very happy with this because I think he is one of those composers which really understood how to write for percussion music, not only in a vertical way, but more in an horizontal way, dimension.
That's lovely. Yeah, I think from what I've heard from people, premiering different works or just being the first ones, say, in their country to encounter a piece. So everybody goes to the concert and is like, how did you play Frozen in Time? I mean, it seems like he really challenges the percussionist. Every time you have to reinvent how you use your body in order to conquer that music, but it's so effective. And I've also never left a concert hall that piece wasn't like everybody's jaw was on the floor. They just love.
I can imagine.
He's incredible. So now a little more of a personal question. You played this piece with the Belgrade Philharmonic, right?
Yeah, I think the Frozen in Time, yes.
Yeah, Frozen in Time.
Yeah, right.
But did they actually provide, this is my hometown orchestra, so I asked this off air.
Cool.
But they told me, my former professors texted me. It's like, he's amazing.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
They loved having you there. But did they actually provide the Almglocken for you, or did you play without?
I don't remember. I think.
Because I saw they took a picture of your setup and I was like, where's the Almglocken? Did you guys find Almglocken for Simone? And
I don't remember because I played frozen in time for, I think, 2 or 3 times without. And I don't remember if this was the first time I played it without or with only 1 octave, because I also told Avner, I think this is in a long term, way, it's a limitation, because you never found it everywhere. But then we realized actually we can play it also with 1 octave, which is also working very well. And in this case, I think in Belgrade, it was a case where I decided to play without, and I did it kind of arrangements with marimba and vibraphone together, I think.
That's amazing.
But I'm not sure. Did you saw Kobolds or in the picture? No.
I was. I mean, I didn't see the Omglocken weren't in there, and I wasn't at the concert because I was in the US. But I was just like, how is that frozen in time?
Right.
And what is he gonna do?
Yeah, you're right. I think this was the first time where I played it without, and where I understood, actually, we can do it also without.
Creativity.
Yeah, and I told Avner as well, look, I think you should write another version without.
Yeah, it's certainly a very expensive thing for people to get.
Absolutely.
It makes the concerto much more accessible if
Absolutely.
they're not there.
Yeah, but I think when I played it in the US with him self-conducting, I brought them from Germany. But it's also, quite expensive because they I think they weigh more than 30 kilos or so and so on. So it's not very easy to find them, especially if you travel in different areas, different continents.
Yeah.
But it's possible without. So if someone want to play it, he should start first without, and then if he has the chance to do it with.
Yeah. Good. Thanks so much. Awesome. Karli, there's an event that happened this week of recording that you wanted to mention.
Sadly, yes. We all heard the sad news, I think, this week that Viola Smith passed away on October 21st at the age of 107, which is pretty remarkable to begin with. So as many of you probably know, Viola Smith was actually among the first professional female drummers in the U.S. She was born in Mount Calvary, Wisconsin in 1912, and she grew up in a family of musicians. She had 7 sisters and 2 brothers, and all of the girls in the family played in this ensemble that their father put together called the Smith Sisters Orchestra. And she was asked in some interviews, like, how did you end up choosing the drums? And what she said was, well, my older sister played trombone and my other sister played saxophone. And so what was left when I came along was the drums, and I was thrilled that it was just decided. So they played in the Smith Sisters Orchestra, and they played like locally, and they toured a little bit. And gradually, as her older sisters grew up and got married, it was just Viola and her sister Mildred who were left, and they formed a group that became quite famous called the Coquettes. And then after several years touring with them, when Mildred got married, Viola decided she's tired of touring, and she moved to New York City in 1942 and established herself there. I'm trying so hard not to get distracted, Casey. If you're watching on YouTube, check the backgrounds because they're great.
It's just photos of her and her group.
He's trying to help.
I'm being
helpful.
One
was upside down, right?
Well, that was a technical error, user error there.
Well, what you see here right now, what does that say? Smith Sisters Orchestra, Mount Calvary.
Yeah, that's before the Coquettes? Croquette? I don't know that word.
Croquettes. The Coquettes.
Coquettes.
So in 1942, around the time that Viola moved to New York City, she received a summer scholarship to study timpani at Juilliard, and she began playing in bands that had vacancies due to the war. A lot of the musicians were being drafted, and shortly after she moved to New York in 1942, she wrote an article for Downbeat magazine, and it was titled "Give Girl Musicians a Break," and she's essentially stating a case for band leaders to, hey, hire women. And in fact, here's a little bit of what she wrote in this article. She wrote, instead of replacing them with what may be mediocre talent, she's talking about replacing the male musicians who were drafted to the war, why not let some of the great girl musicians of the country take their places? Girls work right along beside men in the factories, in the offices, so why not in dance bands? After this time, Smith went on. She studied with Billy Gladstone. She played with Phil Spitalny's Hour of Charm Orchestra, which was another all-female orchestra at the time. And she was featured in 2 movies, When Johnny Comes Marching Home in 1942, and then the Abbott and Costello comedy Here Come the Coeds in 1945. She played at the inauguration of Harry Truman, and she played the original 1966 run of Cabaret on Broadway. And she said it in one interview with Tom Tom magazine that it was a highlight of her whole career, those cabaret shows. So on top of being a really wonderful drummer, Viola was known for her trademark setup that notably was never copied by anyone. She had 2 suspended, what looks like Chinese tom-toms on either side of her. Yeah, thanks, Casey. There it is. And it's so cool. If you search her up on YouTube, you'll find clips of her playing and just moving seamlessly between those drums and the rest of her setup there. It's so cool. It's rumored, although nobody copied this, nobody started suspending toms like that, it's rumored that Louis Bellson was inspired to start using 2 bass drums in his setup after watching her play and meeting her. So that's kind of cool. I don't think either of them ever explicitly said, yes, I copied, or yeah, he copied me, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I read that it was after Louis Bellson saw her perform live, he started doing that. So whether it's like, oh, he definitely did it because of that. But this is actually a trend in jazz of the time. Like you'll see 2 bass drums. Photos like Buddy Rich, 2 bass drums, Louis Bellson, 2 bass drums. And it's not something we think of as like a jazz thing. Certainly today, it's like the least cool thing a jazz drummer could do. 2 bass drums, like what? That's a Metallica thing.
Right.
That's a heavy metal thing. That's the least jazz thing you could do, but they did it a lot, and it was such a show, like Viola's show. I mean, she's such a showy drummer, and also the amount of toms she used too. She was one of the first people to use all those toms. It's something like 13 drums total in her
Right.
set.
That's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Karli.
Yeah, well, in addition to all these performing credits, she had endorsements with Zildjian, with Ludwig, with the WFL Drum Company. And as of a year ago, I found an article that was published in 2019. She was still playing occasionally with bands in Costa Mesa, California, where she lived. The bands are the Peacemakers and the Forever Young Band. So imagine this, 106 years old. Probably she was still playing this year too.
Wow.
How
Think
amazing.
she was moving her own gear?
Amazing.
Absolutely.
I
hope she achieved the status where she didn't have to move her own gear a long time ago.
It's only when you reach 100 years old that other people start doing that for you.
I was hoping it would be 35. I'm still waiting.
You mentioned Mindy Abovitz, and there's a book I found called Women Drummers, and I guess Mindy Abovitz, who we've had on the show before, she was part of she's not the writer or co-author, but she was a big part of the collaborative process in that book. And I don't know anything about that book, but I saw that Viola Smith is at least in there somewhere, and there's a photo of her signing one of those books at I guess a book signing. So
yeah,
you got something to do with it.
Cool.
Well, Viola was promoted in the 1930s, as her career was picking up. People were calling her the fastest girl drummer in the world. She was, throughout her life, sometimes called the female Gene Krupa. And I thought this was nice. I watched an interview with Drum Talk TV, and the interviewer told her, actually, Gene Krupa should have been called the female Viola Smith. And you kind of, as I was reading through, I was thinking, like, gosh, everything about her says, oh, she was an amazing girl drummer or female drummer, or what was so remarkable was that she was one of the first professional female drummers. And I started to think, like, can't we just talk about her drumming? And everybody does. Like, she's always recognized as an amazing drummer and amazing musician. But that, I guess, for some perspective, why it's so important we do talk about how, yes, she was a trailblazer female percussionist and drummer, is that she was born in 1912. And you think about, that's 8 years before women even had the right to vote in the U.S. Like, that was the environment she was growing up in. It was only a few years after women got the right to vote that she was starting to play the drums. So that's perspective. What she did was really, really remarkable, to forge a career and, hand in hand, also forego a lot of the expectations of women of the time of getting married and supporting a husband and his business and all of that, and raising children. That's really remarkable, on top of her musicianship, her creativity, showmanship. So I just want to say a heartfelt thank you, Viola, for leading the way for so many.
Yeah. I remember seeing video of her for years, And yeah, it's kind of sad, you know. It took her passing away for me to really dig into like, oh yeah, so who is this? Why is she significant? And like the two bass drum stories and all of that. Like, it's cool to learn a little more about her now. Do you know? And I think the performance I've got in my background here, you see she's playing with these mallets. Did you bump into anything as far as like what the heck she's playing with? They're not drumsticks. They're some kind of mallet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like timpani mallet, or?
Yeah, here they look very timpani mallet-esque, but I was just wondering, and I guess it makes sense. She's playing all these different things. She needs a multi-percussion mallet.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and here in this photo, it looks very clearly like it is a timpani mallet-esque felt kind of wrap.
Yeah.
Cartwheel wrap. But I saw in another video, I could have sworn it was like a rubber mallet.
Oh, really?
I could have sworn. Yeah, it looked like bouncy ball mallets, but I don't know.
Because those are also Baroque timpani, right?
Oh yeah, looks like it. Yep. Yeah, hand crank timps. So yeah, and then she's got a vibraphone back there too. So I guess that's her multi percussion mallet.
Very creative. Definitely a trailblazer. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Karli, so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Viola, for all that you've done. Yeah, this is incredible. A great segment. Well, I think we have sort of reached the end of our show, sadly, but we have had such a lovely time with you, Simone. Thank you for being on the podcast. Casey, thank you for bringing Simone.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, Ksenija.
Absolutely my pleasure. I just wanted to connect a little bit, get involved a little bit. Simone, best of luck. What's your next concert? Tell us.
I don't know. It should be in 2 weeks, but I just got the info that actually Italy will close all the theaters, and that's why I need to double check. But let's see. Probably in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know.
That's far away for
that's far away.
Plenty of time. Yeah,
that's far away.
Yeah, we hope things turn out well, but stay safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you also for what they are doing. That's a great initiative. So thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. That's very sweet of you. Everybody, we are looking forward to seeing you all again on episode 260. We don't know who else we can bring. Well, I guess there's Renee only, and then we're going to close the show. Simone is going to help us book him now.
Of course.
And that's it. Thank you, Simone, once more. And
thank you.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
And see you soon, hopefully.
See you later.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.